So we do that public that's Mountain View, Cupertino, Los Altos, Sunnyvale. So 4 cities that we do out of this facility. And then we do the government channels, that's like council meetings and planning commission meetings. We do that. Right now we're doing a live city council meeting, someone's in Sunnyvale as well. I get lost. So these are all our channels that we're doing. So right now we have 2 different people doing the offsite council meetings. In studio, there's nothing yet, but we'll be in there. And then these are on our public channels. You kind of get an idea for the interface. It looks like this for programming. You know, they'll populate all the media, and then they just drag and drop, and then it's all on a timeline. So it's all on cable channel 15 in those cities that I mentioned. And then of course, you know, on YouTube or Roku, it's not time, it's just fun to make. So these are all our server computers, encoding and decoding. This is sort of the heart of the station. This is where the show would come when it's finished being recorded.
There's no advertisement in between. There's no advertisement.
So not commercial advertisements, but public service announcements, and then sometimes we'll have sponsors. So like for our sports programming has a sponsor, and we can run like voiceover with graphics and stuff. But we can't do like call to action. Can't do strictly ads. But the shows never go for exactly half an hour, so we have to fill in between. So instead of ads, we do station IDs, public service announcements, that sort of thing. Anything not commercial.
How do they transfer video?
Okay, so they'll hand it, so once it's done, it's a file, right?
Oh.
And then they'll either just plug a hard drive into our computer that way, or if they take it home and edit, they can upload it, similar to Dropbox, but it's proprietary through Pellview. Okay. So they can give them an IP address and they can populate it, we pull it off, and then from here it goes out on a fiber cable to the Comcast head end, which is in Santa Clara. That's another great tour if you can do it. And then from Comcast it goes back out to your home. And we also are AT&T Uverse. We have a separate set of encoders for that. So AT&T Uverse 99. So, and that's kind of region-wide. And then we also, there's other stations like ours. So there's one in San Jose, one in Palo Alto, and the 3 of us share one educational channel that basically reaches the whole South Bay and Peninsula. Okay. That's channel 27 in Minnesota.
So all the program one by one is using this computer to control. I mean, just
to set the schedule, right? So when it will air is decided by this. That's becoming less and less important than going on the web now, right? Yeah. Everyone wants it on the web on demand, so that's a better way for us to track viewership too. So there's not like a Nielsen ratings for us, so we don't know who's watching. Only anecdotal evidence says that there are viewers, and so we know there's viewers, but we don't know how many. But on the web, very easy to track.
So this is also broadcast to the internet.
To what?
To the internet. This one.
Yeah, right. So this is kind of well. This will go to the cable channels and to the Roku. The internet is separate. That's very easy, right? You go on YouTube and you just drop it over. Very easy. Anyway, but this is full-time job just dealing with the media management. We used to have videotapes, and then it was DVDs. Yeah. So it's easier now with files, but it's still, you imagine 50, 60 producers, and none of them will conform to the rules, right? So it's a lot of, media management to juggle, right? All these shows.
How about the copyrights?
Right, so there's no way, so it can't violate copyright, and that's in our user guide. It's hard to police that because we can't watch all of the programming because we're a small nonprofit, right? We only have 10 people on staff. But usually the other producers they'll tell on each other. That's how we'll catch them. We've only ever pulled one show for being commercial because it's, it was like a show about like the veneers, and it was just too commercial. We said we don't want to air it. But most of the time they will abide by our rules.
So all the story in the data center or all here? I mean the story.
In KMVT covers Sunnyvale, Cupertino, and Mountain View.
And Los Altos.
In Los Altos.
Is everyone here from Cupertino or nearby?
Yeah, we are all from Cupertino.
I know the church is in Cupertino. Yeah. Just real quick, we have Sam to thank. He made my wife come take a class here, and and then she volunteered for a long time. And 2 years ago, a little more 2 years ago, we were married. So we have Sam to thank.
You're welcome.
Yeah, right? Well, I don't think that was his intention, but she actually went to your church at the time.
Oh, yeah.
1982 step van. So right now our capital campaign is to raise money to get something newer and smaller. So we cover about 80 events a year, mostly high school sports. We cover also, like I said, parades. We'll do the tree lighting next week. We'll do ballet. and those sort of things. And we're kind of replacing some of this with, you know, nowadays you can get more compact stuff. So we partner with Sling Media, and they have a switcher that uses cameras wirelessly, and you just switch from like an interface of a tablet. So we're kind of, some of the smaller productions we don't bring the truck anymore. We'll do Sling, and we should talk about that. It might be, you might, I know they're marketing to House of Worship because it's very cheap.
And Mark gonna drive this tomorrow to San Francisco?
No, just one camera. This is good because it's a control room environment, right? So you can do a live switch. But with what we're doing tomorrow, just a single camera.
We drive it because we can. 我请他们帮我拍一个央视的纪录片，明天他们会去 San Francisco 医学院帮忙拍。我刚开玩笑说他是不是要开这辆车。
And that's Mark. He just came back from the meeting.
Hey, Mark.
The person controlling the camera is in Massachusetts, and so we just get them seated. And then we listen in, and they're there on the news. So we've had, you know, some big shots. You know, Sal Khan has been here. We've had former CIA directors, FBI people. You know, any expert on any kind of. But right now it's just shooting down, like for a demonstration. There's probably like a cooking show or something that happens. So we're shooting on there. And then we have 3 cameras that have operators, right? So and we'll get into switching, but I guess we probably just want to get into some camera basics first. So. One thing that's key and you guys should consider is you need to have communication, right? So there's usually one person that's the director, and they're in charge of switching all the shots and telling what kind of shots to get. So all the cameras have the intercom system. We actually have a good a wireless one that we can take out on the road. You know, if you haven't looked into that, there's some pretty inexpensive alternatives that you can get intercom. So this is very important to, you know, you're listening to the director, and you know what cameras usually are named, right? So this is camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4. And so for the whole show, the director is not going to refer to you by your names. They're not going to say Sam, Mark, right, Patricia. They're going to say ready 1, take 1, ready 2, take 2, and that just makes it so that the director can go faster. They don't have to worry about talking and saying your name. So each camera, the basic controls of the camera, you want to. There's always usually a lock, so you want to make sure that your lock is loose if you're going to be active, so that there's that lock and this lock. So now I can. I can pan the camera, right? This is panning, left or right. Tilt is up or down, right? Yeah. The other commands that you might hear are dolly. So that means you move dolly in is like this, and dolly out is like this. And maybe truck. So if we truck to the right, trucking to the right, trucking to the left is like this. So there's pan, tilt, truck, and dolly. Just testing you. Okay. So, and then the other things, there's focus here and there's zoom, right? So that's important also. Now, with some cameras it'll be automatic focus, but mostly it's not. So Patricia, if you have a seat, she's been through this drill. So you can see that Patricia looks reasonably focused, right? It's like, that's fine shot. So we don't know that she's in focus until we get something called critical focus. Critical focus means you use your zoom to zoom all the way in on her eyes until it doesn't zoom anymore, right? You're not stopping short, you're going all the way in. So now we get a really good look. We know that, oh no, she's not in focus at all. So over here is my focus ring, and I'll adjust it until she's, you know, good and sharp. And then when I'm set, now I leave that alone. I come out to the shot I want. And now I know she's in focus because I got critical focus. I don't try to focus when I'm out far like this, only when I'm in. Okay. Another couple things, just like composition speaking. So if I truck over here, let's say Patricia's talking to a guest over there. So keep looking at your imaginary guest in that chair. Okay. So a couple of things terminology for the director. Everything in front of the direction she's looking is called look room. Okay. So perfect. So if she's like this, that's too much look room probably. So the director would say, let's have less look room. So I can do that by just panning right? And then just like look room, everything over her head is called headroom, right? So this is too much headroom, right? This is not enough headroom. So typically you want the head to be sort of rest right at the top of that frame, right? The other thing about this shot is that when she's looking at Mark, it's sort of like a profile shot, right? So usually a shot is going to be pretty weak in profile. You want to get as far as you can without Mark interfering with the shot so that she's a little bit more looking at the camera, right? And of course, let me get myself into this.
Is that a GoPro?
It's a Samsung Gear 360. can be a little crazy.
Yeah. 对啊，我在这边做过。
Figuring that out is probably the hardest part of the whole thing. But it's pretty simple to operate.
So now this is going to be a shot that I like better because she's looking more directly at the camera. But since I moved the camera, I changed the distance between the lens and where the subject is. So I have to re-get critical focus. Go in, get my focus.
But you
Or
can
my
do
eyes
this on real time, right?
Oh, okay, we'll get to that. So and then I'll get the shot. So here's the thing about adjusting the camera, right? When you're live, so right, ready one, take one. I know I'm live because I heard it,
Yeah.
and also because there's this indicator, it's called a tally light. So I know that my shot is in program, right? So I can't make these adjustments if I'm not live.
Yeah.
Or if I'm live. When I'm not live is when I do it. So the director, if they don't like the shot, they'll go to a different camera. And then you can get whatever you want as fast and ugly as you want, right? And then get it, but then they say take one, and now you know you have to hold that shot still, or at least keep the shot composed. So it's, with a talk show, very easy. With something like sports or music, take one, and if they're running, you don't let them run away, right? You practice and follow. So with you guys at church, you might shoot the band, right? Where maybe there's some moving around. Oh, probably not too much, but if you're live, it's your responsibility to keep your shot composed.
We actually only record the sermon, so we don't shoot worship band. Yeah.
Does your pastor do a lot of pacing?
No, not really.
Well, you guys have it very easy. Okay.
We are getting a bigger sanctuary. He might start walking.
I think it's sometimes distracting if they want to.
We can start with Pastor Chen. Where's Pastor Chen? Yeah, Pastor Chen's over there.
He can run.
He's the youngest and the new hire pastor in our church.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Pastor Chen. Yeah, so he might start walking in a stage in the future.
Okay, so a few shots. So you guys got that right. So when your shot is live, you're responsible for keeping it very nice. If your shot is not live and you're asked to get a shot, you get it as fast as you can. It doesn't matter how it looks, but then you settle in. And usually a good director will say ready one, so you know that they're coming to you next, and then you can hold your shot. And so if you hear ready one, it's good because it gets you queued up and you know you're on next. These cameras also have what's called a video return. So this shows me what's in program. So let me go. I'll go take another shot to go. So I'm gonna take this camera. I'm gonna go ready to take two, and you guys watch there and watch that the tally light goes away, the red lights, and also watch that the program changes.
Right.
On the second one.
他通常 director 导播他会讲说 ready one， 就是告诉那个1号机说准备好，我要 take 你了。然后 take one 呢，就是他会 switch 到 one。Yeah.
Okay.
So now the light's on over there, but I can see now that that's what is the live shot. This is handy because a director is going to call for a lot of shots, but they can't always be very specific. What's key as a camera operator is if I see this shot is live, I know that I'm not going to give them this shot. It's too similar, right? This is the most common thing that beginning directors and camera crews make is they change from one shot to a shot that's very similar. Each shot needs to be very different or there's no reason to make the switch, right? So if I have a single shot of Patricia and the camera 2 has a single shot of Patricia and I do that switch, it's a mistake. It's called a jump cut, right? It's basically just like it's the same person in a different piece of the frame a little bit. So that's what you're trying to avoid as a director and as a camera person. So each camera should have a very specific assignment. You can go from a shot of a person to a shot of a person, but it's got to be like from this, and it's got to be maybe then you're in with a close-up as a change. So if you're shooting a pastor, you can use head to toe. You can use armpits to head, which is like the classic close-up, or maybe a medium, but you don't ever want to go from, wide to wide or close-up to close-up, if you can help it. That's very important.
How long takes to switch between the shots?
It's instantaneous.
Yeah,
and we'll look at the control room too, and you'll see the production switcher to change it.
Usually 4K has some delay. 4K delay speed because matches, right? Your video matches speed.
I don't know. Hey Mark, I have a question. So if you were running 4K cameras through a production switcher, is there going to be a delay on the switch, or is it also?
That depends on what kind of a switcher you're using. The delay is based on how fast the software or hardware can handle the stuff. Our switcher here, it's limited to 1080 because that's how it was designed. The current version of it can handle 4K in near real time. So that would be less than, say, 10 millisecond delay. Now, you look at some of the other switchers we've got, such as the Sling Studio, also not a 4K capable switcher. but it does have a delay, almost a full second. And that has to do with the fact that it's a wireless switcher. So everything's coming over a Wi-Fi network. And that's really what it comes down to, is where are your sources coming from? And that's the biggest delay.
So it's not necessary that a 4K switcher would have a delay. It's just some of them do.
So I think there's a small thing here. What Albert was saying is the matrix switcher. The matrix is the one, the switcher that we use to take the input and the output, send it to all the the TVs.
Yeah, right.
But that one we actually don't care about if there's a delay, because we don't normally use that for production, or for in the studio.
It's more for routing.
The one we're using is more for the broadcast panel, like the Blackmagic that we actually purchasing. There will be no delay. Yeah.
And so there's two things, and I'll show you that in the control room also. There are ones that are more like routers, like the Matrix, right? So that if I want to show the program in the lobby area, I would make a switch, and then it's a little more clumsy. A production switcher usually will be.
Yes, the production switcher normally there will be no big delay, because otherwise you cannot use it for production.
The main difference between the Matrix router and the production switcher is that Matrix routers don't automatically sync all of your sources. Now, so the frame rate might be off by half a second, and so you'll see a blip when you switch between two different sources.
Yes, that's right.
With a production switcher, modern production switchers auto-align everything, so there's no blip.
Right. A friend of mine actually have they manufacturing they call it seamless matrix switcher in Shenzhen, China. We were thinking about to purchase from them. But we decided not to, then buy the local, because we're afraid that they will not be able to provide the technical support that we might need in the future. But they claim that their switcher is seamless. So no matter how big they are, like a 64 by 64, they are still seamless.
Which production switcher did you guys purchase?
Right now we are buying Blackmagic, the 8x8, the 8x1, how do you call that? It's called broadcast panel, Blackmagic broadcast panel. And then the other one is the production switcher for 4K.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll come over for a tour if you'll have us, just to check out your gear.
Yeah, you're welcome to come to visit us. Of course, dinner's on us, but you need to teach us a lot.
All right. Sounds like a deal. All right. So I guess that's camera. So if we could maybe go into some groups of 3 or 4 and go on each of the cameras, and I'll kind of circle through and direct. So I'll have you right. And so there's that. If you're watching 60 Minutes or X-Files, there's the what's called the ECU. So this would be, and we don't use this very much, just for very serious things. It would be. You cut the head off, you just go just below the chin to just above the eyebrows. That's called ECU, or extreme close-up. A medium shot of a single person is usually going to be the waist up. When they're standing, this is okay. Usually when people are sitting, it looks very awkward. It's not a very flattering shot of a person to be shot. And then wide or full shot would be to include all of them.
So these are...
And then there's things like 2-shot, that just means 2 of them. There's a whole group on stage. And I know you're shooting the teaching, not the worship, but if you were shooting a band and you're like, okay, give me a 2-shot of the ones on the left, just a little shorthand like that. That's descriptive is very helpful. How about a close? Just get me a regular close-up shot.
Now we're going to
Good. Let's zoom out just another little bit, and then tilt down. Get her head. Good. Give her a little more look room. There. Good. Nice. Let's see. Medium shot.
The reason for that it's a little bit
this pan a little right. So did you get close? So now let's get a close shot of Mark, like from arm down. So it's like like that, right? So just have balance and 2 shots so that you don't have too much space above your head. So
there is a very large
we'll move on to something else. Yeah, it's pretty easy. The light brightness. So this one will be a little bit darker, maybe 4 to 3 or something like that for some depth in modeling, right? Sometimes a lot of the shows here are just like very flat lighting, which is to say even on the face, so it's just flat, no shadows. But if you watch movies, you'll see that they take great care to that one side will be a little bit lighter than the other. And then backlight. So without the backlight, he's just going to blend into the background. So we aim one just sort of at his hair, right? And we turn it on a little bit lower than the key and fill lights, just so that there's a halo effect and he kind of pops out from the background. Right? So I'll turn off his backlight and you can see how terrible it looks.
Very important if somebody's wearing a sport coat that's black with a black background.
Yeah.
Less important if it's light on dark or dark on light, but if it's light on light or dark on dark, much more important.
And usually for like a stage setup, like you probably have at the churches, the backlights are typically going to be like a lot of spill, kind of all over, and very wide open and always there for you, right? So I'm sure you have a row of lights in the back that will always reach the backlight. And then for the front, it's a little easier to aim them because you know where the people are going to be. So you can see without the backlight, he kind of just blends in, and then when I bring it up, it pops out.
Hey Bobby, bring my camera up on the...
With a wide angle, it's easier to do a follow than far away. Of course, it depends on how good your tripod is.
Like we used to have this pastor that will, and it was so hard, and the people in the control will tell me to do the small. I go, I can't keep up with them.
Now,
it's always out of frame.
Now there are really great camera operators out there. The first time I saw an HD telecast at a baseball game, it was a blowout game. It was in the championship series, though. It was the A's. And I was watching, so I lost interest in the game. I was just watching the operator do it. It was the first HD camera I saw. It must have been 2005. And she had like, the zoom was like this. It was like on a wheel. She had all these presets. And you know, a baseball field, right? Like she was up behind home plate shooting Frank Thomas way down left field line, and she had a shot like this, and he was stretching, and he got up and took a jog, and she followed him like this the whole time. But it takes really, you have to just, the camera becomes part of your body. You just, you feel it, you're paying attention always to your viewfinder, and it takes hand-eye coordination and all that. Probably takes better tripods than we have, but you have to, just do it. So you follow at whatever speed they are moving. Try to keep them in the same spot in the frame as they move. If you're shooting sports and there's like two people and they go opposite, you have a two-shot and they run opposite directions, you pick one and go with it. I always tell them in sports, I say, don't shoot the grass. Right? That's nothing. That's not what we're doing. Always pick one.
Can I do one more on this?
You can do it.
So I cover a lot of these events where you've got a lecture or something, and this would be very similar to the pastor. And some of them have a habit of walking all over the place. What I've found is that they almost always turn with their legs first. So they'll be talking here, they'll do this. Now you know they're going to start walking that way. So center them up. So with this, you're giving them look room. So you're shooting from about here to out here. As soon as they do this, center them. Now you're ready to, if they can switch back to here and then you go further over here. But if they turn and walk, you can just keep going and shoot this direction.
So don't follow the nose, follow the legs?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not wrong.
That's great. That's an excellent tip.
Because I'll see them be doing this and then they'll come back here. And it's really hard to follow them because they'll be doing this all the time. And then you're just going to do this trying to do that. So you just smoothly just follow them and just follow the legs. So if their legs are like this, center. If their legs are like this, shoot this.
Of course, don't get caught too much watching the legs because you always want to keep your head right.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And there's usually a pattern to how they walk around. So a lot of people will spend maybe 5 seconds over here, then it's 5 seconds over here. Then it's 5 seconds over here, then it's 5 seconds over here. Others, it's more of they'll be here for 3 minutes, then they're over here for 5 minutes. Then they're over here for 2 minutes, then they're over here for 5 minutes. And there's usually a pattern. If you can figure out the pattern, all the better for you. But the hardest thing are the 5 minutes and 5 minute people, because they'll be here for 5 minutes talking in this spot, and then you're going to get bored and you're going to start zoning out. And then they're going to jump over here, and you're going to get lost.
That's a good one too for the director. So if you are on one camera for too long, first of all, visually it's boring. People, even watching on a big screen, they're used to having switches all the time. Go watch TV tonight and see it's every 3 or 4 seconds there's a change, right? I'm not saying you change every 4 seconds during a service, but if you're a director, you don't leave one camera on too long because they will just, even if they got the tripod, it's just your neck starts to hurt and everything else. So once in a while, cycle to the other camera just to give that camera a break. It also gives you a visual change and then come back to it. So don't, even though there's one camera that'll be the main one for the pass-through the whole time, don't do it the whole time. You have 4 cameras, it sounds like, so mix it up a little bit.
And if you do have those jumpy people that just like to be here and then they just jump over here, have one camera set up wide as your safety camera. Always have your finger there. So as soon as they jump, you hit that. And then the person that's getting close up can then find their shot again. But yeah, the jumpy ones are really hard.
And you did notice, right, when we set up the cameras, the assignments was, this is shooting person.
If they just kind of go left and right like that,
because you can't anticipate it totally. There's going to always be a little.
Or do you have to do they take a step before you move, kind of thing, or?
So if we're watching Bobby here, which I can't see very well.
Oh yeah.
So he's facing directly towards us, so we're just getting him. So we come over here.
Now, what if it's just pivoting? Like you're just kind of.
No, they move faster. Come on.
Oh yeah.
I think there's always going to be a little bit of lag. You have to let them establish the movement and direction.
So
before
it's a follow, not
depending on how. If they're a smooth walker, where they're doing this sort of thing and it's very predictable, you can get some really good follow shots that are continuous.
But that's not real.
But sometimes that's very rare. I love it when they do that. But I also hate it when they do that for an hour. Because
you're just going.
Then the director never gives you a break. They're just constantly doing this. But if you do have the jumpy people, then just you go back and forth between the wide and the close.
Okay.
If you've got the smooth walker, then you can follow them. If they are those stoppers, you can pick up a scenario where, as long as they're walking, go wide.
Okay.
As soon as they stop, go close.
Now, what if they're just kind of stumping around like the same place, kind of like back and forth, sideways a little bit?
Take a little bit wider shot.
You can afford to let them move in your frame a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to follow.
If I'm at especially if I'm at a podium and I'm like this, no, there is too much follow.
So like a minor sideway kind of thing. That's okay.
Your idea is to make it as
so you only want to move. If they are going to physically move.
Oh, okay.
So if their feet move, then you can move the camera.
But what if just like kind of like a pivot and a pivot,
I will do a slight. I will sometimes do a slight move left and right with their motion like this, but that has to be a pretty significant one. Otherwise, I'll
just let it be.
Yeah.
There's really no hard fast answer.
How do you avoid moving too much to make audience dizzy?
Practice.
Steady hands.
Keep in mind that depending on where people are watching, let's see, what camera are we on?
That one.
That one. Okay, so if you guys take a look at this one, right now, if I go back and forth with Bobby, this is pretty comfortable on this monitor, right?
But it's not.
Go look at that one.
Oh, yeah.
That's because on this monitor, he's moving maybe 5 inches. There, he's moving 3 feet.
And on your big screens at church, it's probably
even
much bigger than that.
So the bigger the screen, the faster people move, the slower your pan needs to be.
Yeah, so I need to interrupt a little bit. So you guys who handle the camera, I always say that don't move that too much, right? 因为当你在扫过去的时候啊，那个荧幕上动得非常的快，那会让大家看得头都晕了。So you probably don't feel that when you look at a small monitor, right? 但是大家在看的时候 big screen, they feel it a lot. Yeah.
But keep in mind that the pan is in relation to your primary subject. So if Bobby is moving, you want to pan with Bobby. And it doesn't matter if he's sprinting 1,000 miles per hour or if he's going the same pace as a snail. If you're following with him, then you're effectively going 0. It's in relation to your primary subject.
Which answers the original question, which is how fast do I follow? It's just whatever the speed of
Yeah.
Because sometimes dancer, right? The dancer, ballet dancer, really the sharp jump from here
Oh,
to
yeah.
here. How to do that?
As fast as they move, follow them.
Well, and also it's on the director too, not to leave the cameras out to dry. If the dancers are moving too fast, you know, the director just go to the wide shot to help them out, or use a dissolve to like go out. If you guys want to get good at following, come with us. You can shoot ballet or some sports, and you'll get good at following very quickly because it's just fast.
So this is our pastor Jim. So you are okay to walk around next time. Now we know how to do that.
I'll dance.
Well, so let's move on to that. I think that's enough of answering that question. So if you could show them white balancing the cameras.
Okay. I'm going to grab a couple of
Numbers
Yeah.
correspond with there. So you have this, right?
We are my lighting. My lighting.
Something just went out.
Yeah.
The light just went out. Get it so that they're all reading white as the same, or when you switch it'll look really strange if one shot is too blue and one shot is too red. If they're all a little bit off, but they're off the same, that's still not good, but it's passable. If the cameras are not balanced the same way, it won't work out. So Mark's going to show you about how to white balance a camera. So go back more. This is basic dimmer pack. You guys know how to do that. Yours at church will probably be more sophisticated than this one with scenes and stuff.
The scene, yeah, we're allowed scene. How can we determine measure the light temperature?
That's what Mark's going to show you.
Oh.
So we have basically a scope. We'll point the cameras at a white card, and then we run them all, and we set it so that they all read the same as by Kelvin, right, by color temperature. So usually lights like these are going to be like 27, 2800, but you want them all to match. So you can take a look at the scope, and it'll show you the lights. So you'll show them this and then the scope, okay? Okay, so Mark's on the scope.
with the camera or with a sensor. This is my light sensor. We've also got a scope in there that I'll show you in a minute. All they work with, these, you just click it and it'll give me a readout. This one is at f8, would be a proper exposure. F numbers are really a ratio, and it's not something that you guys will probably have to deal with a whole lot, but be aware that most cameras will probably give you a brightness. If we take a look at one of these cameras, 3.7, that's your exposure. It has to do with how big of a iris the camera has in there, which is variable. Just above that you have a number, 28,000, with a K at the end. The K stands for Kelvin. That's the white balance. And those are the two things you'll probably need to deal with when white balancing your cameras. Because cameras don't know what colors are what, they actually have a black and white sensor inside of them. It's just that you have a filter on the front of that sensor that says, all right, only red light can pass through. Then the black and white sensor set only ever sees red light, and so you just assign all the data received by that sensor as red. So what you do is you take something like this. This is a white card. Now this one is a lab certified white card, so we know that this is actual white. You come out here, you put it in front of the camera, point the camera at it, fill the entire frame so it's all white. Can you zoom in on this, please?
David, maybe you can hold it.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you would zoom in. Yeah, fill it entirely with the screen, and then you blur it. So you don't want to be in focus.
Oh, why?
Because if there's, say, a dot on here, the blur will get rid of the dot.
Oh.
Now, we purchased this one, and you can buy one of these for a hefty sum of money if you want. However, a white t-shirt or a good, nice white sheet of paper will also work. I will very often at events, I will simply use the PowerPoint screen before people are projecting to it. Because what we're after is not white. What we're after is something that is equally red, green, and blue. It's 33.33% red, so forth, green, blue, and all that. So that it can equalize all those levels in the camera and say, all right, this is equal. So very often you're not actually wanting white, you're wanting gray. So what you will do is you will drop the exposure level on the camera until it's not white, but a middle gray. I drop the iris using the ring here. With your cameras, how you drop the iris may differ. You can drop it through iris, through the ND filter, or through exposure, but iris is probably the easiest.
If they're shooting inside, they probably won't mess with the ND filter, right?
Probably not. But I always want to throw that out there. Our field...
Sorry, what type of gray do you want? Like a light gray, dark gray? What does it matter?
50% gray is the common. What that is 100%. 100% would be completely blown out. On our scope over there, we actually have a 100% rating, and we actually get a little bit above that, but that's what 100% is. There's also 0, which would be black. And what you're looking for is for skin tones to be around 70%. And if you expose white in the camera, then you adjust your exposure until it hits white, then you know that your skin tones will be about 70%. And so that's one of the great things about scopes is you can put up a white card, expose for 100% on white on the card, and then everything else should line up appropriately. So the white card not only will do your white balance, but it will also do your exposure as well. Now you may want to tweak the exposure a little bit here and there depending on other conditions. For example, you may actually want it to be brighter, or you might want it to be darker. Depends on your preference.
So you should show them the scope. You can also, we have till about 9:30.
Okay.
I want to do like rotations.
I'll do 2 minutes more. The white balance on each of these cameras, there's actually a button that you have to press. And when you press it, where is it? There we go. All right, hold it still. Okay. And we lost the... no, wait, there's the card. Good. Go ahead and press it. Okay, so it should blink a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it gave us a number.
It's 220.
Yeah, so let's start walking in there and I'll explain it. What it is that color balance is based on the Kelvin scale. Why it's Kelvin, I can't really tell you. But they chose the Kelvin scale. Yeah. The sun is rated at daylight temperature, and that's, what is it?
9,000?
No, it's like 5,400 or something.
Oh, 5,400?
Yeah. Then inside is tungsten, which is 3,200, or am I flipping those two?
The tungsten is closer to like this. It would be like
all right, so yeah, I'll flip those numbers all the time. But the idea is that, yeah, so 3,200 is considered tungsten. So any incandescent light bulb is roughly going to be 3,200. Daylight, that would be the sun. At noon will be roughly 5,400. Depending on how clear the day is, whether there's clouds, various. If it's closer to dusk, that will change quite a bit. So let's do our scopes on the cameras themselves. We have some scopes over here that we can look at things without bringing them into the switcher. We've got scopes in the switcher, so we can tell what is, so right now this is sort of in the yellow-red area. So you can see as we switch over to, say, what is that, DDR1? There we go. That's almost pure white. Now if we go over to DDR2, that's green. So do you see how, sorry, no, that's not green, that's more of a yellow. So it shoots off into the yellowish, reddish section. And that has to do with what is there. If it is white, it should all be directly in the center on the crosshairs.
So you want to point the cameras at a white part or something?
This is close enough. What you see that's poking out here, that has to do with that little line that you see. And what you can do with some white balancing options is you can actually adjust the red, green, and blue on the white and the black side of the cameras. Those are the really fancy ones that cost like $30,000, $100,000. We can't even afford those, so anymore.
We're ours, church might.
Yeah. But using those, you can adjust things. There's also something called a color card, and that will have a bunch of different colors on here. And you should see dots in each of those boxes there. So if we turn color bars on the camera, you should see dots where they should appear on there. With white balance, that's what you use. Up here is your exposure meter. So we've got a bunch of stuff at the top of the meter because we've got white here. If we switch over to that other graphic, everything drops down. There's still some white. You see that graphic? So the white graphic shows up as those white streaks, and it's almost all at the top. The rest of the graphic is sort of in this 600 to, well, depending on which side you're looking at. But it gives you sort of a range as to where things are.
So if they're going to match their cameras up, what's the process?
So the idea would be that you get all three of your cameras, 4 cameras, whatever, and I would set up one, and then with white balance, if you know that one camera is 3200, you can then manually set the other cameras to 3200. You don't actually have to white balance all 4 of them the same way. Because I will very often get them slightly different. Because of various lighting conditions.
This is the production. Thank you, Mark. And
sure.
Don't.
I won't be going anywhere. Just putting this stuff away.
So this is a basic production switcher, and a lot of this stuff is for. If you saw the green screen earlier, so if we want to do compositing, we would do these extra rows like layers and stuff. But for most of the time, especially for like what you guys are shooting, it's basically just 2 rows you have to worry about. There's the preview bus, which is going to be what's on deck, right? That's what's next.
Right.
And then there's the program, which represents what's in the program. So we can have up to 8 inputs. The director's looking at their monitor. This is all the videos that, all the sources that they can take, right? So camera 1, 2, 3, 4, which is not really pointing at anything. If I have stills that I want to use, or like you guys probably a lot of slides and stuff that would come in. These ones are called, like videos are in DVR for the record deck, and 2, and then there's like a still graphic, right? So all of those are represented with the corresponding inputs down here. There's the different cameras, there's the still, there's the video coming on the DDRs. So the this person is called technical director typically, and the director is the one that's calling all the shots and saying what to get. So they'll do it, so they'll say, okay, ready camera 2. So on ready 2, you input it on the preview, and it gets on deck. It's the next shot. Now this is an efficiency because this person, the technical director, is inputting it, but also if you say on intercom, camera 2 here is ready, camera 2, remember what I mentioned, now they know they're up next, so they know to hold their shot, right? When the director decides it's ready to take it, they'll say take 2. There's a button here that says take, and when I hit take, it'll swap what's in preview into program, what was in program back to preview, right? So ready 3, take 3, ready 1, ready 2, take 2. Say ready the presentation on DDR1, take DDR1, ready camera 3, take 3, and you see it's instantaneous, right? It's a cut. So next to take, there's also this one called auto. It's a transition button. So a lot of times the director will say ready 1, let's dissolve to 1, and they'll hit auto, and it'll mix the shots together, right? So this is like if you want to, if you're shooting, a ballad or something very slow and moves, or like a dance, or a transition can indicate like a change in time or place. So if we're going from the speaker to the presentation, you want to use a dissolve as well. But between camera shots, you usually take, And then I can add a graphic that's here. So insert graphic, put that in, it'll have the person's name. Lose graphic, you hit it again. This is a toggle on or off, right? Insert graphic, lose graphic.
So graphic is controlled by the computer.
This person is getting the different graphics ready. So the director might say, ready Allison's graphic, and I'll click it. You can see it changes there. Insert graphic. Lose
the
graphic.
title, the name too.
Insert Sharon's, ready Sharon's graphic. Insert graphic. Lose graphic. If the graphic's in and we change it, it'll change in the program. So usually you get rid of the graphic before you call the next one. Right. So this is a take, and then auto is dissolve. So let's just very quickly have a few of you do it, and I'll be the director and you be the technical director, and we'll do this a few times, and then we'll kind of mix it up so that some of us are in here and some of us are there, and we'll actually do a production. So ready, camera 3, take 3. Ready 2, ready 1. Oh, so
Yeah, he screwed up.
you might change it, right? So we're not going to always take everything we get ready.
And you are fired.
So he's fired.
Only one shot.
Here's another thing. So one thing he didn't do though is he didn't button mash. So let's say you make a mistake. So let's say I said ready 3 and he accidentally ready 1 and then he took it. And it's not the shot I want, but then the camera person can maybe fix it, right? And we can save it. But if he goes like this, and this is the viewers saying this, and he goes, oh, whoops, and it goes back, then it's already a mistake, right? So sometimes you take the wrong shot, as the director, you just roll with it, right? Just roll with it, keep that shot up there. Ready, 3?
Dean tried that. She's actually the real person that, controls
Okay. Well, you did good. I wanted to give him a chance to recover.
Jimmy gets sick and he's gonna have to take over.
I'm too fast.
And I don't think everybody will get a chance to, so if everyone just make sure that you watch so that you can. Okay, ready, camera 4. Take 4. Ready, camera 1. Take 1. It's insert graphic.
Okay. So I would probably
Take
have...
one.
Yeah, DSK.
But you need to specify which graphic, right?
Okay, lose graphic?
Yeah, press again.
It's a toggle, in or out. Yeah, good. So then I would say, let's ready Allison's graphic, but she can't control that. This is a different person, right? Okay, insert graphic. Lose graphic.
Lose again.
Yeah. Ready, camera 2. Let's dissolve to camera 2. Right next. Yeah, good. Ready, DDR1. And dissolve to DDR1. Ready, camera 3. Dissolve to 3. Ready, camera 1. Take 1.
Take 1.
Good. It was easy. She got to watch first.
Right. Hey, Thomas, try that. Thomas.
Right, that's very plain, right? It's very doctor nurse, right? It's like,
You gotta show them the audio too. How to set
Yeah,
up
we'll
the
do
audio.
audio next. All right. So we'll do maybe 2 more of these. So make sure that you get a chance to watch. Okay. Ready, camera 2. Take 2. Ready, camera 3. Take 3. Ready, 1. Ready, 2. Take 2. Ready, the still graphic. So it's still on the bottom. It will be called still. And dissolve. Good. Ready, camera 3. Dissolve. Ready, camera 1. Take 1. Insert graphic. Good. Lose graphic. Ready, camera 2. Take 2. Ready, Stacy's graphic. Oh, but you can't do it. That's someone else. Okay. Insert graphic.
The partner.
Lose graphic. Ready, camera 3. Take 3. Ready, camera 1. Take 1. You can, of course, go with the zoom. Right, good. You got it.
All right. Anyone else want to try?
Anyone else want to try? We do one more.
We need the.
Anyone else want to try?
Okay. So that's technical director. I want to show you. So the others, we might have a teleprompter operator, right? This is very easy. This is just like following, right? Instead of following a person with the camera, you're just listening to their words, and then you're, as they sing it. It's funny to think that we would need the prompter for Rudolph, but we don't. So the other thing is the audio board. So you guys know the audio board, right?
Okay, Ken. Ken, that's yours.
All the inputs. Let me grab a mic.
No more than one. It would be useful to have the BTC facing. Yeah, because honestly, with these things, so.
You guys, it's a lot of sliders and dials, but if you just remember that each column represents one sound source, and so once you know one, you know basically the whole board, right? It's just you have to manage which ones are coming to which. So these are all microphones. We have, if you want the sound from the computer, it's coming from here, and there's like music from a CD player. And then at the far right is the master slider, right? So if the master slider is all the way up, then everything's going to be up. And if this is down, everything underneath it relative is going to be down, right? So a couple things. Before, you always want to get a sound check before the show starts. So each slider, there's a marking called U. You bring the black line even with U. It means unity. Just think of it as 0. It's the starting point. And then I know that this is mic A, so I'm going to do the same for mic A. I'm going to bring it to U for unity. And now I need to assign this channel to go to the program mix. So I'm going to hit LR, which on the Mac keyboard is very common. Any guesses what LR stands for? Yeah, left and right, because it's stereo, right? It's going to both channels. So I'm going to press LR, and then, you know, as the pastor's talking or the guest is talking, I'm going to adjust at the top. There's this thing called the trim. Where's my... There it is. Sorry. It's because the receiver's out there. So as Mark is talking, I'm going to leave this at U and that at U.
I'll just read the teleprompter.
So I'm going to adjust the trim. I want not to take too much from here, just as much as I need to, and for the meter to read at around 0.
That seems rather rude.
Can you hold it closer to your mouth?
Closer to my mouth?
Yeah.
All right, how's that?
Yeah, it's fine. So I'll adjust that until he's done talking.
So
and I'm going to adjust the trim until it's peaking around where 0. Okay, now I got his level, so when the show starts and the director says, bring up mics, I'll bring the mic up. And when he says, lose mics, I'll bring the mic down. Okay, if we have music going, the director will say, bring up music, and you will have got that level by adjusting the trim. Bring up music, lose music. Right? In the control room, it's always ready to do it, and then do it. So for the audio operator, ready to bring up mic, you don't really do it, because the director will have like 12 cues going on. And then like ready to fade it from black, ready to record, ready to bring in graphic, ready to bring up mics, and then they'll say all that, then bring up mics, and you do it.
Over the network?
As the show goes, I want to keep an eye on my meter to make sure that it's never peaking too high like this,
View the cameras.
and that it's not getting too low. So
Adjust settings
people will
as I
never
walk
talk the
around.
same way during the show as they do during the mic check. So a good audio operator will know who's wearing which mic and make adjustments as the show goes. Just little adjustments using the slider, right? Just to kind of keep it
There's
balanced.
always more audio,
Right?
I could probably say.
Okay, Mark.
What all these buttons?
Right. So let me start music on here so that because it's easier than having Mark talk about 0. Okay. So you asked about what these ones. So going upward from here, the pan will send the sound more to the left channel. Or more to the right channel, right? And you can see it on the meter that it changes. The blue ones are EQ, so it's just the low frequency, you can listen, or the high frequency. Right? And then the red ones are sends. So this represents what goes to our program. But let's say we need to hear the sound in the studio, right? So aux 1 and 2 will send that to the studio, and then I need to send this one to the studio, and this one to the studio. So now it's going here, but also it's going to the studio speaker so they can hear. And this is important for monitoring for bands, or especially if there's a dance troupe. Yeah. So these are all just sends that will go someplace that's not the program. So once these are done, we're set. Before the show starts, we get all these mic checks, and then the director will say, okay, ready to bring up music? Bring up music. Oops. Bring up music. Ready to lose music? Ready to bring up mics. Lose music, bring up mics, and then the person would talk. We would cue talent.
You don't use a mute.
Oh, so you could. So usually when I teach the first people, this is like one less thing to worry about. But yes, you can also mute it.
Okay.
And that's also nice. So you get the level and then you mute it. And I like mute because it has the indicator light, so I can.
Right.
But I'll say this with music. Let's say at the start of a show, your music comes in like this. And then at the end it goes like that? No, that doesn't sound good. With music you want to fade, right? With mics, right away, because it's weird if you're bringing it up and you can't hear the person and then they're loud. That's no good. So with mics you can mute them, but with music you always want to take about half a second to fade it, or else it's too jarring, right?
Yeah.
So you get one person to do all your trim and all your level.
Yeah, usually one person. It's very challenging with a band. And like what I would recommend is if you have so many mics, because and then the pastor comes up, and if you don't get the mic up right away, it's embarrassing. But if you leave it up while he's waiting in the wings, he might be coughing or something. So I like to put you can put magnets sometimes, or there's like just masking tape, and then you can make notes at the bottom.
Oh yeah,
we do that.
Another thing to think about, if you do have
5% on top of it, and then depending on the talent of your lead singer, maybe a little more, or maybe a little bit more buried in the mix. So there's so many variables. So really, just to try to keep everything even. What I do when I'm doing sound for a band, I pay attention. Can I hear everything? And it's like, is I see that he's on the bass, but I can't really hear it. Just so I can hear everything, and then the vocals just a little bit on top. unless they're terrible vocalists, and then you just bury them and let the congregation sing also.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's true. So the best audio person, I used to do a music show for fun here, and I had audio engineers do it, and it sounded fine. But there was a guy I had who filled in, and then he ended up doing a bunch of shows because he wasn't an audio engineer, but he was a great musician, great ear, and he just knew what sounded good. That's all there is to it. There's no formula, right? Okay, so what I would like to do now that we've seen
up here. So, in order for us to tell the host something, we can't just say, "Hey, you've got 5 more minutes." It's going to be a little distracting on the show. So instead, the floor director will be over here, and they'll have nice clouds following me. I didn't get rained on too much.
And I'm waiting for the audio person.
And I was having this great conversation.
Okay, we got it. Okay, thank you. And then for the other person, notice I'll come around here so that she's not looking behind like this. She's looking where she's going to look during also. I'll say, okay, Patricia, tell me all about your day so far.
Very busy, trying to catch up, you know, from being gone from Thanksgiving, so very, very busy. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Tell us more about that. And then I go like that.
Welcome to our show. Okay. We're going to have
so now I just go back here. And they have a conversation. Okay, director says 3 minutes left.
Blah, 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 blah.
Show like this. Now, I'm not done yet. Maybe they do credits. Maybe they're on camera still, so they're still not excused. And then when they're really done, the director say, okay, we're clear. And they say, okay, we're clear. Good job.
Home. The chairs have a home. The risers have a home. The microphones have a home. Okay. So you need to find out where all those homes are. Okay. Now, with the cameras, it's kind of easy. They have these little tethers that kind of point out where they are. And then there's the thing. Now, before you start wrapping, I want to show you how we wrap it. So, hold up a sec. Alright. So, when we wrap cables, we actually want to be careful that we don't twist them in a weird way. Because if you keep twisting them, they're eventually going to break. And because we're sending a video signal, a high-quality video signal through it, any breakages are going to cause some actual problems. So it's a type of cabling wrapping that people have been doing for quite a while in the video industry that keeps the cables basically in a straight line but in a circle. So you wrap once like you normally would, but then you flip it. So instead of doing a normal one,
these cables are not going to behave because we have 25 independent shows and they never do it the same way twice.
And then you flip it. So you'll notice.
Try, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So you'd normally do one wrap, and then you take it and you flip it.
Yeah,
you do a normal. Yes. Behave. And then you flip it. Right. As you can see, some of these are just wanting to do their own thing. So sometimes it's easier just to follow the cable as is rather than give it a... Yeah.
And then don't tug on the...
Yeah. So then move it all the way back. And you don't have to go tight, but just keeping...
lock it, right?
Yep. You need to lock it down. There we go.
Palm down, twist towards me. Under, palm up.
So
poke myself in the belly.
Locations to put everything, and you don't lose things.
Over.
Especially wireless mics.
Under. Over. Under. Over. Under.
He doesn't like my hand punch.
And then it unfurls very easily.
Yeah. So if you do it that way, you should. We're not going to do it with one of those, but with a rope, if you do it that way, you should be able to just toss the rope and it'll go straight out, no kinks whatsoever.
Yeah, I think Kenny do know that. He do this all the time.
If you